Oh, there you go.
Thank you.
Let's do that.
So you're over this and SLBC both.
Yeah.
You are so fancy, Stuart.
Okay. The Wednesday, September 14th, 2022 Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone Number 3 meeting is called to order. First of all, do we have any public comment, Madam Assistant Secretary?
No, sir.
Is anyone in the room willing to make a comment? Okay, no. Number 3, we need a motion to approve the minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes.
Okay, moved by Willis.
I'll second that.
Okay, second by Watley. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Okay, number 4, orientation ethics training. A, review of and discussion on purpose, roles, responsibilities, and functions of the tax increment reinvestment zone number 3, Board of Directors, Jessica Hubble, Senior Development Manager. Jessica.
All right. Oh, I'm sorry, I always forget this. This one's a little bit lengthier, so I will definitely try my best to get through it quickly. Okay, so a little background. So City Council Resolution 1524 requires that all city boards receive an annual orientation to introduce board members and to review their responsibilities, as well as the zone's previous work and significant agreements. The policy also requires a one-time open meetings training, which can be taken online. You should have received that from the city secretary. If you didn't, we can always get you that information.
Well, we've done it.
Oh, okay, so I don't have to do it again. Oh gosh, go the wrong way, sorry. So the zone has it's a 5-member board with 4 city appointees and 1 Fort Bend County appointee. So in 2009, the rules and procedures were established to guide the administrative and operational procedures. Some of these highlights include establishing the membership and term lengths, outlining duties and powers, the meeting procedures, conflicts, and executive sessions. So the zone encompasses the former Imperial Historic Sugar Site and then the surrounding areas you can see here on the map all the way to Highway 6. Okay, so the zone was created in 2007 through Ordinance 1667, which established an 839-acre zone with a 5-member board that was set to expire in December 2038. At that time, the city was the only participant, but a board appointee position was reserved for the county pending their participation in the zone in 2008. The city agreed to participate at 50% of property tax increment above the base value and ½ cent of the city's 2-cent sales and use tax revenue attributable to the Imperial Tract, with contributions to begin in 2008. So now we're going to get into the amendments for the redevelopment agreement. So in February 2013, the ordinance 1888 was passed to extend the zone expiration to 2042 and to adopt the final project plan. The ordinance 1910 was passed in July 2013 to restore the county's rights to appoint a representative to the board. And then in August 2016, ordinance 2064 was passed to amend the final project plan to align with the revised development agreement and to correct the sales tax amount and the boundaries generated in the sales tax generated in the former Imperial Sugar Refinery site. So in 2013, Fort Bend County agreed to participate in the zone at 50% of property taxes above their base value of $11.7 million. The county's increment cannot be used for repayment of the city's parking contribution at the ballpark. So in 2007, the development agreement was created, which outlines a plan for the development of Track 3 and the Imperial Refinery site. This document provides consent to the creation of the Imperial Redevelopment District and outlines other public benefits, including historic preservation, free space to the city for a historic museum and visitor center, and the University Boulevard extension. The development agreement was first amended in 2010. Those changes implemented through this amendment include Johnson Development, providing 15 acres for the stadium and 6.8 acres for the offsite parking to the city, which was free of charge. The city was then to purchase the additional 5 acres for on-site parking, and the city would provide $7 million to the district for infrastructure and to construct $3 million in parking facilities. The second amendment was passed in 2014 to update the general land plan to replace 127 acres of business park and commercial property to single-family residential. This is along Highway 6, kind of at the top of the property. And then in 2016, we did the third amendment, and that's the most current one that we're at today. So this amendment allows the district to issue debt in order to refund developers for public infrastructure. It also establishes that the city will construct the University Boulevard extension and receive timely reimbursement from the district for their share of costs. The city will also receive expedited repayment for the ballpark infrastructure and parking. Finally, this amendment also puts into place protections for the historic refinery site, and that was done so in an effort to achieve the PD vision that was outlined. So in order for the district to meet the obligations established in the third amendment, a tri-party funding agreement between the city, zone, and district was approved. The district will use the TIRZ funds to implement the zone project plan by financing and constructing all public improvement projects. The district can also use the TIRZ funds to contract with developers and consultants, as well as issue TIRZ revenue bonds once consent from city council is obtained. So to use these funds, though, the district must comply with all the terms of the redevelopment agreements, including the reimbursement priority order and TIRZ revenue restrictions. The final project plan outlining the program and priority of public improvements was approved through ordinance number 1888 in 2013. An amendment was made in 2016 so that the project plan would align with the third amendment. The amendment has also addressed updated projects, financial sources, and projections of bonded indebtedness by removing the University Boulevard set-aside account, and also removing the previous financing plan for the ballpark infrastructure and parking, and requiring TIRZ revenues meet terms of the new redevelopment agreement. So here you can see the updated project plan. Those total costs are estimated just under 200 million. So in 2013, the city and zone approved a support services agreement that allows the city manager to make expenditures in the form of materials, facilities, and support personnel for the zone through the annual budget process. Support personnel and services include general admin, financial services, legal services, and administration of contracts and projects. The FY22 budget amount was $6,472. So each year in September, the board will recommend a budget to city council for approval, which Scott will be going over in more detail later this afternoon. For FY22, the revenues are budgeted at 1.3 million and expenditures are at budget at 1.3 million. So this means that we would have an ending fund balance at 0. And then the zone's annual report is a requirement of Chapter 311 of the Texas Tax Code, and it displays annual revenues, expenditures, debt, captured values, and taxes collected. The board makes a recommendation to city council for approval of the report in December. And then upon approval, it's sent to the state comptroller and then all of the taxing entities within the zone. So finally, this goes over the board calendar. The meeting is always held at 4 p.m. on the second Wednesday of the month. If we met every quarter, this is what we would typically cover, but we normally don't have many items to go through on those opening up months. So that's why a lot of it falls in the September month. The September will always have the budget and the December annual report, and then we'll fit it the orientation and election as needed. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions. Would you pass the text? And we can send you the information too about the orientation, especially for you guys that are new. We're happy to do that.
I have one question. So where does the responsibility or for the administration and such reside? What department or what person? You?
Economic
Planning?
development, legal.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So we attend the IRD meetings when they have them, and we're the liaison between the two.
Okay, thanks. Questions anywhere? Thank you, Jessica. I'm sorry, was somebody?
No.
like that? Okay, thanks, Jessica. Appreciate it. 4B, receive training related to the Sugar Land Code of Ethical Conduct and state laws regulating ethics and reporting responsibilities of city officials. Meredith Reedy, City Attorney.
Hello.
All right, this is gonna look very familiar to you. Because the rules haven't changed.
What?
This one neither has the presentation. Oh, have you not done a TIRZ one yet?
No, I have. I thought you said they have changed. I go, what?
Oh, no. So this is gonna be really good. So ethics, here we go. Two questions you're gonna ask yourself whenever the word ethics comes up. What am I supposed to do? And what happens if I don't? Well, I'm here to tell you. So there's two statutes, 171 and 176. 171 is regulations of conflicts of interest. And so what are you prohibited from doing? You are prohibited from failing to file an affidavit and abstain from voting on a matter in which you have a substantial interest. And you're asking yourself, what is a substantial interest? Well, let me tell you, a substantial interest in a business entity is with you, your spouse, your parent, or your child own 10% or more of the voting stock, shares or fair market value of the business, or $15,000 of fair market value of the business, or your paycheck for the last year was 10% of your gross income from that company. And you're gonna say a substantial interest in real property. This is the rule of 25. You have a substantial interest in you, your spouse, your parent, or your child, very easy to remember, have an equitable or legal ownership at fair market value of 2,500 or more. It's a pretty low threshold. And you say, I've got the substantial interest. Remember the question? What am I supposed to do? You get to file an affidavit with the city secretary's office stating the nature and extent of your interest in that matter. And you must, like I said, abstain from participation, discussion, and vote on that matter. And it'd be helpful if you filed that affidavit prior to the discussion or vote. And if you don't do it, what happens? The Class A misdemeanor, a fine not to exceed $4,000, confinement in jail for up to 1 year. And if you happen to get a really nasty district attorney's day, you can have both. Okay, the other one, chapter 176. This is where you get to brag about getting gifts, or as the county district attorney's office calls bribes. So what are you required to do in that case? You have to file yet another form, a conflicts disclosure statement reporting certain business relations and the receipt of these gifts. The statement must be filed with the city secretary's office not later than 5 p.m. on the 7th business day after you become aware of the conflict or receive the gift. Rule of thumb, if you think this person's doing business, fill out the form and turn it in. Don't even worry about a calendar, just do it and be done. So what do you have to disclose these business relationships? If you're related to the vendor within 3rd degree by blood or 2nd degree by marriage, or when you get $2,500 or more during the 12 months prior to your becoming aware that a contract is being entered into by the TIRZ. And when do you get to brag? You get to brag if the cumulative value of gifts received from an individual vendor reaches $100. So if you hit 99, don't take anything else until 12 months have passed from that first gift. Then you don't have to brag. But if you hit the 100, you file a form, you get to brag to anybody in the world that this person's giving you gifts. Okay, what is a gift? It's lodging, transportation, entertainment, tickets to the suite from a vendor, but I guess they can't really do that. Anyway, they can take you to a football game, because we don't have those here. And it can include food if the vendor is not present. So if the vendor gives you a fruit basket, those pretty flowers, flowers, or a gift card, or one of those things, if that value is $100, you get to brag about it. If it's the vendor sitting at the same table, order dessert, have that second drink, it doesn't count. If the vendor's sitting right there for TIRZ board purposes under state law, you don't have to talk about it. Now, for those of you on city council, you happen to know there's a little bit different rule. You can't only drink and eat up to $500 before you have to brag. And if you don't follow that rule, it's only a Class C misdemeanor, and the contract could be declared void, but if you have sufficient votes that your vote didn't even need to pass it, no harm, no foul, you just have to pay $500. Any questions?
Questions?
Next.
Thank you, Meredith.
Yeah.
Item 5, development update. Review of and discussion on tax increment reinvestment zone number 3 annual development update. Jessica Hubble, Senior Development Manager. Hello again.
Hello. So typically, if this was done earlier in the year, we would only talk about the year prior. Being more later, we'll talk about some 2021 and some 2022. So it's more relevant to today. Okay, so as a reminder, the 2016 tri-party agreement established that the zone will provide 98% of revenues to the district for the implementation of the project plan. Biannual payments are made to the district in March and September. To date, the zone has been provided $5.1 million to the district. Here's a reminder of the project plan that we just touched on, a little bit under $200 million. So now for the development update. So starting with assessed values in 2022, the city's assessed value of the zone was 430 million, while the county's was 409 million, which is roughly an 18% and 19% increase from the previous year respectively. The Sugarland Heritage Museum and Visitor Center reopened June 11, 2021, post-COVID, with the temporary operating hours of Fridays and Saturdays only from 10 a.m. to 5. Total visitors in 2021 were 453 people. In February 2022, the museum transitioned its operating hours to a seasonal schedule that coincides with the highest foot traffic that they've tracked historically pre-COVID. So this schedule provides a greater opportunity for the Heritage Foundation to maximize the rental space to meet the increased demand for event venues within Sugarland. This also allowed them to host a wedding, the first time they ever hosted a wedding there last September. So Heritage Hikes, or I'm sorry, last summer. Heritage Hikes are offered the second Saturday of every month, and then Dia de los Muertos will take place again October 24th through November 5th. Additionally, the Heritage Foundation hosted its first Heritage Friends social since the lockdown on August 25th, which was very well received. And then to date, the space has welcomed 397 visitors in FY 2022. The Fort Bend Children's Discovery Center opened May 28, 2016. From reopening post-COVID in June 2021, the Fort Bend Children's Discovery Center has seen over 82,500 visitors. They reported their 2022 summer was action-packed, with each week a new Wonder Week theme. Shown here are pictures from their meet and greets with Sonic the Hedgehog and their dinosaurs. And then they're currently preparing to reopen the toddler exhibit. It's kind of right in there to your left. That's been closed since COVID. This area is known as the Tot Spot, and it's for children 35 months and younger. So they were a little bit more precautious when it came to the littler kiddos. So Imperial Historic District. So as mentioned last year, the Imperial Market project that was previously approved in 2015 is no longer moving forward as it was not financially feasible. So this site continues to be one of City Council and staff's highest priorities. This property garners a lot of interest, which staff continuously works on. All of these inquiries do include mixed use that would be inclusive of multifamily. So it's important to understand that the site is very complex due to the multiple owners and invested parties. Another layer to the site is the Third Amendment that I touched on in the orientation. It stipulates certain thresholds that must be met for development to occur. And so these thresholds are specific to that Imperial Market project. So therefore we need to amend them. So in the coming years, staff will be working on opportunities to make the site ready for development. So in terms of residential, development continues. So of the 573 single family lots, 554 homes are completed and occupied. 3 homes are completed and not occupied. 4 homes are in various stages of construction, and there are 12 vacant developed lots. Home builders within that area are Darling Homes, Grace Point Homes, and Meritage Homes. And then the new homes in Imperial range anywhere from 420,000 to in excess of 1.5 million. So additional residential includes the multifamily development, which is the Imperial Lofts. It has 254 units, and then the Overture, the single living facility, which has 200 units. So commercial, so there has been some movement on the commercial side. So the area is noted in pink. Just to orient you, this is Constellation Field at the bottom, Highway 6 on your left. The areas in pink have been sold and projects are in the works. Like 3 retail buildings will be going next to Imperial Lofts. The brewery is the pink one along Imperial Drive, kind of right there next to Lot B. The area in yellow behind where Overture is, kind of along Oyster Creek, is slated to be a Fort Bend County precinct annex. And then the yellow area north of Imperial along Highway 6 received its final development plan for a medical office building. And then everything you see along Highway 6 in the blue is commercial with retail options as well. So kind of varies. And then last, but certainly not least, is Constellation Field, the minor league baseball stadium that opened in April of 2012. As you may recall, the attendance for Constellation Field in 2019 hit a record high of 530,000 visitors. That was between baseball and non-game day events, but then obviously saw a drastic decline in 2020 due to COVID. So in 2021, the city's aspirations came true and we became the Houston Astros AAA affiliate. The total visitors in 2021 between baseball and non-game day was 304,556. Also within that season, big leaguers like Lance McCullers, Jake Myers, Hunter Brown, and many others made an appearance. And then we even saw Matt Carpenter and Dallas Kitchell there from opposing teams. So for the 2022 season, just note that the in-park attendance for the baseball is up 11% year to date, and they still have 12 games left. So that's a great turnaround from COVID. It's doing really well. And then along with becoming the affiliated team, the stadium also received some great upgrades and enhancements. Some of these include the complete renovations of the Regions Bank Club, which was the Insperity Club. All of the suites got renovated, and then the playground and splash pad. And then there's a new team store in the breezeway, simulated batting cages, moonshot alley behind home plate, and then the Carback Cantina in the left field. So I know most of you have been there, but if you have not been there, please make sure you do go. And then that's it. Happy to take any questions.
Questions?
Could you go back to the slide that showed the commercial development? Yes, that one. Can you say what the 3 retail buildings next to the Imperial lots, do you?
They don't know them. They're going through P and Z, city council on
Okay.
that right now. They'll just have the authority to be retail. So it could be restaurant, it could be.
Okay, any type.
it's fancy
And then
everything.
the brewery that's going in, is that, can you say the name of what that is, or is that?
I mean, it's been in the news. It's Talliard Brewery. They're out of the Northeast, in Pennsylvania, I believe.
Okay.
So they're really close. They're just working through kind of final TIA. I'm sorry? They got their permit.
Okay.
So yeah, that should be coming really soon. That'll be really, really great.
Would you point to it? I can't read it.
It's right here.
Ah.
So this is lot B where,
Got it.
this is lot B where they currently park. This is that grass lot you see.
I
So they're
see.
taking that portion right next to Imperial.
Thank you.
Yeah, so they'll be able to have a nice, easy walk to the stadium. And then again, I think when what we hope is when that starts happening, it'll just further encourage the other entertainment venues to try to go around that. And that's our hope as well.
And then what's Amphi-Kids? I'm not-
So, excuse me, it was like a kids play
Like
area.
a indoor jungle gym kind of thing.
Okay.
There's several of them. I can't think of
Yeah.
the name.
But we don't know if that one's moving forward or not. They do own the property. That was the intention, but we have no knowledge of if that's moving forward or happening right now.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thanks. Anybody else? Okay, thanks, Jessica.
Thank you.
Item number 6, budget. Consideration of and action on fiscal year 2022 budget projections amendment and recommendation of the proposed fiscal year 2023 budget to the members of City Council. Scott Butler, Director of Budget and Strategy.
Good afternoon. My stuff is probably not nearly as exciting as Meredith and Jessica, but still necessary. So what we're going to do today is review the information for FY22, including the updated projections. We'll talk about FY23, and then there's 2 action items for clarity's sake. Ask for 2 separate ones. First, to amend the FY22 budget, and then to approve recommending the FY23 budget to council. So as far as on the revenue side, based on the most recent supplemental roll and the changes to the tax roll, it results in a revenue reduction of just over $28,000. As a reminder, the tri-party agreement assigns 98% of these revenues to the IRD in support of the revenue bonds. And then we've adjusted the expenditures, including this assignment and the city administrative costs based on the revised revenue estimates. This is what it looks like in terms of the breakdown by entity. And the difference in the 28,203 that was on the previous slide and the 28,213 is just the interest on the city side. So the interest income. For FY23, this is what the incremental tax revenues look like. As a reminder, that we look at the city and the county's incremental values because the exemptions and the abatements are different. This also includes the differing approach to the Champion X abatement. It's part of this area. So the total is just under $1.6 million for FY23 based on the 2022 tax values. And then, so in accordance with the agreement, as I mentioned, 2% of the Revenues are allocated to administrative costs for the TIRZ, with the remaining 98% to take care of the debt requirements. And then this is how those expenditures break down overall in terms of the operating expense and then the IRD assignment. And just as a reminder, the operating portion is for contractual services and then support as well as the audit cost. So this is how the FY23 proposed budget looks. I do need to note that based on what Jessica mentioned, this is the ending fund balance that we are carrying over is that $19,000. We're actually adding it to the operating expenditures. So this should actually be zero, with the intent that those will be reserved for anticipated legal fees. So this would be amended to be, the ending fund balance will be zero for the FY23 budget. Any questions about that?
Yes, please. So we don't keep a fund balance because we're not the debtor, but the district does keep a fund balance, yes?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So are there any other questions about this? Because then I just have action items.
Questions, anyone? So we need a motion to approve amending the fiscal year 2022 budget to projections.
Motion to approve the amendment to
Okay,
the.
McCutcheon,
Second.
Willis, second. Questions, discussion? All in favor, raise your hands and say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. And then we need a motion to approve fiscal year 2023 proposed budget to city council for approval.
I move that we approve the FY 2023 proposed budget to the city council for approval.
Okay, motion by Willis,
Second.
second by Watley. Questions? Okay, all in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Okay, thank you, Scott.
Thanks, sir.
All right, Carol, do
Motion
that,
to adjourn.
do that voodoo that you do so well. Thank you, everybody.
Okay. That was quick. I thought it'd be.